Welcome to this episode of the Tack Rag. My name is Kevin Nelson, and it is my pleasure to be your host. In this episode, it's a very unique and unusual conversation with Mr. John Jackson, who is the owner and photographer of Not Stop Photography. John has spent his whole career traveling, driving around the country, taking photographs of hot rods, cars, trucks. Very unique. John is coming to work, going to do some work for NCS. We're very excited about that. But it's an interesting conversation of where John started, how he started taking photos, how he's had a passion for cars for his whole life. I think you'll find it very interesting. I hope you enjoy.
Well, John.
Yep.
Thank you for being here with us. This is the first time that I've gotten to do a podcast actually live with somebody. It's usually over the phone, through a Zoom or something like that. But John is, as I said in the intro, John is doing some work for us now. But tell us about who John Jackson is. How did you start out?
All right. Well, so for the last 20 plus years, I've been a hot rod and automotive photographer for car magazines and car companies, and I basically just travel all over the country and live in a Sprinter van and provide content for whoever needs it, automotive related.
Okay. I've got so many questions from that right there alone. But so you've got a Mercedes Sprinter van, right?
Yep.
And I understand that the Sprinter van has a name.
Yep. It's Home Wrecker because it keeps me away from my wife 11 months out of the year. I mean, she does fly in and hang out with me some time when I'm places that are cool. But like, she's called me when I've been at like Des Moines Good Guys, because I do a lot of work for Good Guys, the car show series. And she'd be like, "Hey, where are you at?" I'm like, "Des Moines." She goes, "Let me know where you're at next week. I might want to take some vacation." But she prefers it when like I'm in Arizona or Washington State or Montana.
Now, does your wife work as well?
Yeah, my wife actually has a doctorate in mathematics, and I take pictures of shiny cars for a living. So obviously, someone has to have 401k and health insurance. She's the smart one.
Opposites attract, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
All right, so you've made a living taking pictures of hot rods.
Yes, sir.
And for the audience, who are some of those famous rod builders that you've worked with?
Well, one that was our first photo shoot of last year. So to get into it, like last year I drove 73,000 miles and I photographed 235 cars last year. And the very first one I did was Kevin Hart's Roadrunner that Salvaggio Auto Design built up in Wisconsin. Oh, wow. So that was my first photo shoot of the year. So we're 1:30 in the morning on Rodeo Drive waiting for Kevin to get done to do his stand-up in LA, and we're just sitting around waiting for Kevin, and Kevin didn't even know he was getting the car. So when he gets the car, you get that moment of someone getting a beautiful piece of art, automotive art, so it's, you get everything from that. And we've done stuff with Goldberg, and we've done stuff with Charlie Hutton, who's a more famous painter, Alloway Hot Rods. In fact, we've done a ton of the PPG posters and ads that people have seen with hot rods and stuff like that. So we did a lot of work for PPG over the years.
So if you're going back, what top 3 cars that you've actually...
That's so tough. I have too many friends to actually go, this is my favorite car, because but what I'll do is I'll go on the ones that I would like to own, because even though someone might have a handmade $1 million car, you don't necessarily want to have that as your daily driver. But I like 63 to 65 Buick Rivieras. So I photographed one last year for South City Rod and Customs did, and it's basically it's pink with a laced roof on it. So that's one of my favorite cars. And but I have an odd taste in cars. I like everything with wheels on it. I shoot a lot of motorcycles for motorcycle magazines and stuff too. But really, any of the Rivieras I've shot over the last 2 or 3 years I would take those, because that's my favorite car. So,
Gotcha. Yeah. So you just mentioned, photographing, waiting for Kevin Hart to come out to get his. And what was the most unique shoot that you've been on?
Let's see. Unique shoot. Well, there's a lot of good ones. It's, I guess they're all pretty unique because we shoot on location. So usually it's old factory buildings and cool old church buildings. But, Rodeo Drive at 1:30 in the morning's pretty different. That's a tough one because they're all unique. So it's, there's just great places and great stuff. Like a lot of times you're shooting with friends because you wind up making friends with everybody. So a lot of it just gets unique because you're hanging out with great people. So I don't know if I have one that really just sticks out as the most unique, because we do stuff a little more higher end than just taking pictures of cars. So they all wind up being pretty special.
So walk us through the process. Right?
Okay.
You get called in to do a shoot. What do you go in when you walk in? What are you looking at, and how do you set it up?
All right. Well, so I try to put something. You try to run that fine line of putting something where it would be and wouldn't be at the same time. Like I never shoot hot rods on the grass, because like you would never drive a $1 million hot rod on the grass. Like we shot America's Most Beautiful Roadster last year that Devlin Rod and Custom in Wichita built. And the guy, we drove all over Kansas. or all over Wichita. Found a couple of cool old buildings, and it's a really techie hot rod. And then come to find out, the guy who owned the car had this beautiful warehouse with old neon signs in it. So we shot it in there. So it really, when I see the car and I shoot it on location where the car's from, I try to find some place around there that's unique. So it's never really, usually when I show up, I don't have a spot. Unless it's something like we're shooting in bare metal, so we know it's going to be in the shop or something like that. But usually we just kind of wing it when we show up. But after 20 plus years of shooting stuff on a high end basis, you kind of make it look easy when you show up, but it's a lot of years of screwing up to make it look like it's easy. So,
Gotcha.
Yep.
Now, I've been on your website, looked at your what is it? What's the profile page? Or it's got all of those photos on there.
Yep.
Lighting seems to be crucial.
Yep.
So is there a particular, do you carry all your lighting with you?
I do. So in the Sprinter, I have all my light stands, all my lights. I have video equipment. I even have mountain bikes because we like to mountain bike. But I carry everything with me, and we drive everywhere to photo shoots. I don't fly anywhere. Like I said, last year was 75,000 miles. And so I carry everything. But over the years, you get used to, you spend a little bit more, but you have equipment that doesn't really fail on you. So I shoot Fuji cameras, and I love those, and the Pro Photo lighting. And it's a little more expensive, but it never fails. But you also have to be able, like it's raining outside here right now. Of course, you don't see it in this, but no matter the circumstances, like if sometimes you show up someplace and you have an hour to do something, so you have to be prepared to do it no matter what. So you just try to carry enough equipment that no matter what gets thrown at you, you can knock it out of the park. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, now some of these look like it was almost like it was taken in the dark.
Yeah. Well, we do a lot of that, but it's funny because if you use a high-end light, it kind of you can overpower the sun and stuff like that, so it makes it darker than what it actually is. I still try to follow the general rule of sunset, sunrises as much as you can, but again, you can't all the time. You have to do what you can. Like when I work for Good Guys, sometimes I have to shoot 11 cars in a weekend, so you might have to start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So you still have to be able to get the light the way you want it, put the sun behind you, have enough of your own light that if it's a metallic car, you can make that color pop. So it gives it that appearance of it being darker than it actually is, but you're just using real high power external lights. So
you've done a lot of work over the years for PPG, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So is that, they just tell you they want to buy stock of it, stuff that you've done, or do they send you out on specific?
It's usually on specific shoots. I used to do a ton of the stuff for Repaint Reporter, that the internal magazine for PPG, so they would approve it, and I couldn't shoot anything until they approved it. So like sometimes I'd have to go to 5 places in 1 month and just try and knock them all out, and then by the time the next reporter comes out 3 months later, well, you got to do it all over again. So usually I think I'm just really good at winging it, and a lot of people hire me because I can wing it. And that's the benefit of not having a studio or not being stuck to a location, is a company can call you or a builder can call you and be like, hey, I'm gonna have this car done in 2 weeks. Can you be here and shoot the first pictures of it? And you're like, cool, I'll be there. I'll just bring my house with me.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. So in the process of traveling and shooting photographs, how have you handled that relationship with your wife?
My wife is actually really good about this, and I don't understand how she is, because I grew up in a family of long haul truck drivers. So all the females in my family, like the males were never home. Like my grandfather was my father figure, and when I was 7-8 years old, I'd go on the road with him and go to New York City and stuff. So that's where I got I love to travel and be on the road. But I think my wife sees that this is my passion and this is what I was kind of born to do. I feel like, so she understands it. And as long as if I'm going to be someplace cool, she can fly in and enjoy that place, and I feed her really well and I make her good coffee, then she seems to be okay with it.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
She's stuck in Florida right now and mad at me because I was sending her coffee pictures from here today, and she's like, I hate you. Which, it was funny. I was in Canada because we both ride mountain bikes, and I was up on a mountain once, and I sent her a picture of it. She goes, "I hope a bear eats you." And I was like, take it back. You don't mean that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you're traveling around, you're taking photos. What is David Zolchek here? You're here with NCS today. Mm-hmm. What are we asking you to come in and do? So
what we're going to try to do is show you guys' day-to-day on how you deal with customers and deliver product, and how you can provide, I did a job for you guys down in Georgia, and I didn't even realize that you guys had trucks like Mac Tools or Snap-on, but it's paint supplies. And it's like, people forget that, you can get that delivered. We're so used to, a lot of us, we have to go into a paint store and all that stuff, but you guys have everything and you can have it delivered. So we're trying to show that, that personal hand-to-hand, shaking a hand, knowing the people in the shop. Whenever you need something or if they have a problem, they can always call you guys as stores and they'll handle everything. And you have everything in stock. So we're trying to show that, the shelves are stocked and the people are friendly and all that. So we're trying to show that. So
it's going to be new stock photograph that we can use. In our own
new
marketing.
not stock photos.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Because everybody gets tired of seeing that one where like, hey, buy our product, and they're like this in the picture, because that's stock photo. It's like everybody's seen it. So you want to show, this actually is pretty cool that you can get paint product delivered to you. You don't have to take your shop guy, make him go to the shop, and then did he get the right thing or not? Nope. You just make a phone call or you go on a portal and you order it and it shows up. So it's better than Amazon.
All right. So you said earlier that this is your passion.
Yep.
When did you know? When did you get your first camera and
right.
say, this is really cool?
So when I was 7 years old, my mom used to buy me these little 110 camera point and shoot little disposable cameras. And all I did was walk around and took pictures of cars and big semis with it when I traveled with my grandfather. And then get into where I started working for magazines is I still just kept taking pictures my whole life. And so I would go to car shows, take a bunch of pictures. Well, I started hanging out with magazine editors, and they were like, these are really good. You should send pictures to us. And then I got a paycheck from them, and I was like, oh, this is where it's at. So while my wife was getting her doctorate in Houston, I'd started getting a bunch of work. And I was working for car dealerships at the time as a service manager and service writer and all that stuff. And I kept working for small mom and pop shops, but then they get bought out by a big conglomerate. And then there's this big book that comes in of corporate rules and stuff, and you're like, this again. So I rolled over one day when we just got bought out by another conglomerate, and I told my wife, I was like, I think I have enough work where I can do this full time. And she was like, okay. And then she went back to sleep, and I don't think she slept since. So she's the one with the doctorate in mathematics. It's like, I just go do stuff, and then she tells me, you can't do this. We don't have any money. So it's like, so I just chase cars. I want to see the next best car, go in the next best hot rod shop, go see the best paint and body shop. I mean, I want to see it all. And, talking with David, we talked about doing stuff like you guys have clients on the commercial side that do helicopters and stuff. And I'm super stoked to do that, because it's like, I've got the cars down to a science. And it's like, I'd like to shoot helicopters, and it's like, and the people who build all this stuff is what really drives me, because without them, I'd just be taking pictures of old buildings and trees and stuff like that. And that's boring, it's like, but people work really hard to make me look good. And so I've just been lucky for the last 20 years to just follow that passion. And I've had a very supporting wife that's let me do that, because she always goes, I wish I had that one thing where because I've never had that day where I woke up and went, I don't want to go shoot cars today. Oh, I don't even when I'm sick, I want to go shoot cars. It's like, if it's raining, I want to go shoot cars. And that's I'll come home from a road trip and I'll go with my buddies to Cars and Coffee. And she's like, you've been gone for 6 months looking at cars, and you're getting up this morning to go look at cars. And I'm like, but it's in me. It's like, I can't tell you how or what, but it's just what I do.
Now, back in the day, you've been doing this long enough now that you were shooting cars before digital cameras.
Right. Yeah, I started in film.
So did you have your own, you were what do they call that? Your own black
Oh, yeah, I developed my own
Built
film
up.
and stuff, but a lot of it, like show car coverage and stuff, I did a lot more of that back then. I didn't shoot as many car features as I do now. It was almost car show coverage for magazines. So I would just send it to them, the rolls of film, and they would develop it, or I'd develop a little bit of it, or we go to the local, like there was camera stores everywhere back then. They'd develop it for you. And I do kind of miss the chemical smell. And I did a little bit of body work when I was younger, and it's like I like the smell of film chemical, and I like the smell of Bondo. And like everybody else that's not from either one of those, when they smell it, like, I don't know how you like that. I was like, it's just a familiar smell that you're used to and that you like, so. But
Well,
yeah.
I would think that a digital camera now, you're just going
Oh
bonkers,
yeah. Well,
right?
so I shoot Fuji's digital medium format, so it's like 102 megapixel. It takes this big, beautiful, dynamic range image, and it's great. But and I have a lot of buddies that went back to film, and they're like, "Hey, don't you want to go back here and shoot medium format film?" And I'm like, "No, I like to be able to go click," and then like, "Nope, that didn't work. Click, do it again." So as far as work's concerned, I love digital, and it's like it makes my workflow way faster, and then it's instant gratification almost when you do it. So as much as I like the old school film product, I prefer digital. So
I got
yeah.
you. I got you. So you had talked about some of the commercial stuff. We're hoping that we're going to be able to get you into some of our customers. Also, I don't know if you know this or not, but all of the football helmets that you'll see at the Super Bowl this weekend, and
Oh, awesome.
all of the college football helmets, we sell all of that paint.
Awesome.
So
Yep.
maybe be another opportunity
Oh,
for you
I'm
to get
I'm
in.
down. Yep.
And get into Rydell and Shut and
Yep.
see how they
Yep.
take photographs of that actually happening.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely down for that. And I do a lot of photography with guys who paint NASCAR helmets. In fact, Lucky Strike Designs used to be one of the in-house trainers for PPG, and I have Lowrider Graphics paint on the side of my Sprinter van. He did all that stuff, but he's done goalie helmets for like the Penguins and stuff like that. So I've had a lot of experience with helmets, so I'm definitely down to shoot custom painted helmets. So
So do you see yourself moving away from the automotive side into other? I mean, have you had requests to move to do stuff outside?
I've done more of the outside work because I used to do a ton of magazine work. Well, as you know, almost a lot of stuff's went to digital and not as much print. So I have to go in and sub in some work to help pay for my bad habit of shooting cars by shooting, but to fill in where the magazines don't pay me anymore. There are some really good magazines still out there that I shoot for, but I do a wedding every once in a while, which I don't like doing those. But then I like anything corporate, I like doing it, especially if it's someone making anything by hand or painting or working. And it's like, I like other people's jobs. I like to see those. So I do like to photograph those. So I'm looking forward to doing other non-car stuff, but I'll still always be a car shooter.
I'm going to ask a question that I probably shouldn't ask, but
Oh, it's all good.
has David talked to you about our national sales meeting coming up?
He is not, but I am doing BSS national sales meeting in Scottsdale in like 2 or 3 weeks, and I have to do 150 headshots for that one. So, yeah. But he hasn't talked to me about the national sales meeting yet. So.
Yeah, I mean we're going to be in Dallas.
Oh, nice.
So.
And I'm in Burnet, Texas, so I'm like an hour northwest of Austin. So,
You're still only half a day away.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
That's interesting. Gosh, I just had a question. I guess I'm still confused about digital magazine versus printed magazine. Is there still not photography work that's going into digital magazine?
There is, but I don't think they know how to pay people for content right now. Because there's an old hierarchy of this is the way things have always been done. Well, a lot of the print magazines failed because they couldn't make that transition over to the digital audience, because the audience gets younger. Because you get old guys like us, they still want a magazine in their hand. And you're like, film. And like my wife laughs at me because I'll go in a bookstore and like the Rodder's Journal, which is a traditional hot rod magazine, like you open the envelope and you just smell the print. But a lot of kids don't have that thing. They're used to like iPad, phone, and the 2-second flip through. You're like, no one's reading articles. People are looking at pictures. So the work's out there for really nice photography that catches people's eye. It's just no one really knows how to monetize it yet, because a lot of times you don't see actually how you're making money off of that sometimes. I mean, if you do an online magazine, you have a ton of people paying you to advertise on the online thing, then you have a dollar amount. But sometimes you don't always if you just do something. Like you can make money off of Instagram Reels and stuff like that now on YouTube. So we have both of those, but you really don't. I think a lot of companies and a lot of the print publications that went away, even though they have good title names, they just don't have a lot of people going to their website because that's just not what they're used to. So I think it'll eventually come around. And then as sad as I hate to say it, but a lot of that quick contact with internet, like photography's kind of went downhill a little bit. Like if it's just, you'll see people all the time comment on just a basic photo of a car in a parking lot taking a cell phone, like, that's the best photo ever. And you're like, well, that's not even a good photo. It's like, but it's good because of the content. It's not good because of, it's good composition, the lighting's good and all that stuff. It's just what's in it's cool, And that's one of the things is perfect photography is not always cool, but cool is always cool. So we always strive for everything that we do to be cool. And cool always sells stuff. Like when you see a cool picture, you're like, that's cool.
Yeah.
But if you see a perfect photo, you're like, oh, it's a car in studio. So it's, but I think the digital side still has some growing to do, but it's just growing pains. And I'm sure like 10 years down the road, this will all be figured out. And the way magazines are now is it's actually made those better because they become more of a boutique magazine. Right. Like if you're into hot rods, you buy one of these magazines. Or if you're into Camaros and muscle cars, you get like All Chevy Performance or Modern Rodding or Classic Truck Performance. Like what you're into, that's the magazine you buy. And those guys buy great photography. So that audience still gets fulfilled. But then when you get over like this is a website, I explained this to someone the other day on the same thing. So I know I'm kind of rambling on this. But the problem with internet is it goes so fast. So when you do an internet magazine or an internet thing, it's like they put 2 or 3 things up a day. Whereas when you get a magazine, you look at it for a month, So like if you shoot a really awesome feature on a car and the car's beautiful, the car deserves to be seen by everybody, it gets seen for that first couple days. And then a couple days later, there might be 4 more cars right above it. So then all of a sudden this car's gone, and it's still some, and you really have to search for it to find it. So it's one of those ones, like I said, there's still a ton of growing pains, but I think it'll figure it out. It's just, it's that whole, everybody pays attention for 5 minutes now. They don't pay attention for 5 hours.
That's right.
So,
that's right. So tell me about you. Do you have a social media presence?
I do. On Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, we're Not Stock Photo. NOTSTOCK PHOTO. And we're really active on Instagram and YouTube. And then, of course, our Instagram page just goes to our Facebook and Twitter. So it's all pretty much the same thing. But usually we post the behind the scenes of photo shoots and where we're at and me making coffee in a van and me riding mountain bikes. And so it stays active. I think we have like 10,000 posts on Instagram. It's ridiculous. But, I'm doing something every day. I try to shoot a car every day. And so even though I'm here to work for you guys today and tomorrow, I shot 3 cars the last 3 days while I was in the area because I just schedule stuff around work. So, because I went from $1,000 in diesel a month last couple years ago to now I'm $2,000 in diesel in the Sprinter van. Even though the Sprinter gets 16, 18 miles a gallon, it still adds up when you're paying $5 a gallon for diesel. So.
Oh yeah. Well, and I mean, campsite spots.
Yep.
It's like you could stay at a hotel almost.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm staying at your state park, not too far from here, and it's $28 a night. So it's pretty nice. And then the thing people don't realize when they see my Sprinter, like I have mountain bikes, all my gear, all that stuff in it. So if I stay in a hotel, all that has to come out, go into the hotel room. Then you have to get up an hour early the next day, put it all back in the van. And one of my wife's favorite stories on that is we took that van to SEMA in 2017 in the Kelderman air suspension booth. And so when I get there, you don't think about, like all my clothes are in it, but you don't have any bags for your clothes. So all my camera gear is in the bag, and we're staying with PPG in the trunk. So all my camera bags go in, and all my stands and all this other stuff, and they're going on these nice cars, and I'm carrying garbage bags with my clothes in it because it looks like the Clampetts are coming to town. So in Texas, we have a real famous burger place called Whataburger. Mm-hmm. And so my wife went and bought me 2 bags, 2 of like the grocery size bags with the Whataburger logos on them. So that's my new luggage that she got me. So whenever you stay in a hotel, you can put your clothes in these bags.
Whataburger bags.
But yeah, I definitely look like a bumpkin coming to town, walking into the trunk carrying 4 trash bags full of clothes and toiletries. So.
That's funny. Yeah. That's funny. Well, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to be with us.
It's my pleasure.
And we look forward to working with you.
Yes,
sir. Hoping we can keep you real busy.
I hope you guys keep me real busy. My wife really hopes she can keep me real busy.
There you go, man. All right. Well, I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yep.